There was nothing dramatic about his life. No sudden tragedy, no shocking failure, no explosive downfall. Just a slow, quiet disappointment that followed him like a shadow. At 32, Armand worked as a night security guard at a warehouse on the edge of the city. The building was enormous and lifeless after midnight, filled with the echo of his own footsteps and the hum of distant machinery. His job required no creativity, no growth, no future planning. He walked the perimeter, checked locks, signed a register every hour, and waited for sunrise. The pay was just enough to survive, never enough to move forward. He rented a single dim room above a noisy mechanic shop. The ceiling fan shook when it spun. The paint peeled near the corners. Some nights, the smell of oil and metal drifted upstairs and settled into his clothes. Every morning at 6:15 a.m., when his shift ended, he stepped outside into a world that was just beginning its day. Vendors prepared their carts. Office workers adjusted their bags. Children in uniforms hurried along the sidewalk, and Armand always felt like he was walking in the opposite direction of life. While everyone else was beginning, he was finishing. While they were waking up to opportunity, he was going home to sleep. He would reach his apartment around 7, pull the curtains tight, silence his phone, and collapse onto his thin mattress. He slept until mid-afternoon, waking up disoriented and heavy. By the time he fully opened his eyes, half the day was already gone. He ate whatever was cheap and easy, then prepared to repeat the same routine. Weeks passed without memory. Months blurred together. He was not lazy. That was what made it painful. He showed up every night, he did his duty, he endured the boredom and the cold. But hard work alone was not building a future. It was only maintaining survival. Sometimes his mother called from their village. Her voice was gentle but tired. She would ask him if he was eating well, if he was saving money, if life was improving. He always answered yes. He never told her about the exhaustion or the quiet fear that time was slipping away unnoticed. One winter morning, after completing another shift, he stopped at a small cafe that had just opened its doors. It was 5:40 a.m., a time he had never truly observed before. Inside sat a middle-aged man by the window, reading calmly, a cup of tea steaming beside him. There was something unusual about the scene. The world outside was still dim, yet this man looked fully awake, fully present. Curious, Armand ordered a simple tea and sat nearby. After a few minutes, the man glanced up and asked if he worked nights. Armand nodded. The man studied his tired face and said quietly that living opposite to the world would keep him feeling behind. Armand felt defensive at first. He explained that he had no choice. The man responded gently that most people believed that. He spoke about owning the morning, about protecting 2 hours before the world began demanding attention. He explained that those early hours were clear, silent, and powerful. 2 hours each day could become more than 700 hours in a year, almost a full extra month of life. Most people wasted it in sleep or distraction, but it could be used to build something new. Then the man finished his tea, paid the bill, and left without asking for anything in return. The words stayed with Armand long after. That evening, something unusual happened. He could not fall asleep. The idea of 2 hidden hours kept circling in his mind. Instead of scrolling through his phone, he turned it off. Instead of staying awake past midnight, he lay down early. At 5:55 a.m., his alarm rang. His body resisted violently. His mind begged him to stop. Yet beneath the resistance was a small flicker of determination. He sat up. The room was dark and cold. The city was silent. There was no dramatic motivation, no burst of energy, only a quiet decision. He made tea and sat at his small wooden table, unsure of what to do next. For years he had complained about his situation, but he had never prepared to build something different. So he opened his old laptop and searched for free skills to learn. Accounting, Excel, bookkeeping, digital tools. He chose something practical and began watching beginner tutorials. It was confusing at first. His eyes burned from fatigue,
but he stayed seated until 6. Then he stepped outside and walked through empty streets, feeling the cool air against his face. The first week was uncomfortable. His sleep schedule felt unnatural. His muscles ached. He questioned himself repeatedly. Yet he created a simple rule: no negotiation with the alarm. When it rang, he stood up immediately. Slowly, his body adapted. By the second week, waking up felt less violent. By the third week, the lessons began to connect. Spreadsheets no longer looked like meaningless grids. Formulas started to make sense. He practiced daily, filling pages with notes. During his morning walks, he added small exercises. Nothing extreme, just consistency. No one around him noticed any difference. At work, he was still the same guard, but internally, something was shifting. He felt less reactive, less frustrated. He began tracking his expenses and discovered waste he had never acknowledged. He realized that discipline was not loud. It was repetitive and quiet. By the end of 2 months, he had completed multiple online certifications. Confidence replaced helplessness. One night at work, he noticed inefficiencies in inventory management. Instead of complaining, he built a simple tracking system during his 5 a.m. sessions. It was basic but effective. Hesitant, he showed it to his supervisor. The supervisor tested it and found it useful. Soon the warehouse manager heard about it. 3 months after he first chose to wake early, Armand was offered a position assisting with records during day shift with higher pay. There was no dramatic celebration, just a calm office and a simple offer that changed his direction. The real transformation was not the promotion, it was the internal growth that had been happening quietly for 90 mornings. He continued waking at 5, even after switching to day shift. Those hours became sacred. He used them to read, plan, and improve. A year later, he had moved into a brighter apartment and brought his mother to live closer to proper medical care. He was not wealthy or famous, but he was stable and confident. The difference between his old life and his new one was not luck. It was 2 consistent hours repeated daily. The secret was never about a magical time. It was about ownership. When he woke before the world demanded his attention, he met himself first. He created before consuming. He built before reacting. Life did not change overnight. It changed quietly, one morning at a time. And when the alarm rang now, he did not feel forced. He felt in control.